You're listening to the Australian Hunting and Beyond podcast with Matt, where we talk about hunting, shooting, fishing, camping, and everything else that the great outdoors has to offer. Let's get into it. All right, I've been looking forward to this one for a while because it has been a while since we've been going back and forward. But my mate Dan actually was the person that got me on to you, Andrew, because he met you once in the Shire, and he said at a market stall, and he said, this bloke's awesome, follow him.
Oh, yeah.
And said, hey, check him out. I checked you out on Instagram and went, man, I'm a big fan of your stuff. And we have a lot in common in just the way we see things about hunting and food. So, mate, welcome to the podcast. And
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
So, no worries. So, for people who may not have seen your work, you've got to go over and check out The Bald Chef on Instagram. And basically, mate, we're just going to cover everything tonight. But I love the fact that you really are out harvesting a lot of your own wild game, fish, and doing it just to have that more organic, healthy lifestyle, which is something I aim for with my family as well. So I see a lot of parallels between us in that sense.
Yeah. No, thanks for it's interesting. Like, you know what it is? It's not easy either doing it. Like, I don't know, like how often do you hunt when you are like harvesting your food and stuff like that?
Well, look, nowhere near as much as I'd want to, because I live up here in Sydney and I have a set of 2-year-old twins and a 4-year-old.
Oh, wow.
So we are extremely busy, and we were joking around tonight actually because I was at work today just showing some of my colleagues the videos of the craziness in my household. My boys are just the next level energy.
Crazy.
My 4-year-old, he was wearing a camo jumper today, and he keeps saying to me, can I go out hunting? And I was like, yeah, mate, but you got to be quiet. And he's like, oh. so
Have you taken them hunting yet?
No, because I don't get away anywhere near as much as I'd like to. I'm a school teacher, so I tend to go in school holidays, and it's one of those things that maybe it's a little selfish of me, but I want to go hunting, not sort of just to take the kids along. And
of course,
I want to use that time to try and be as productive as possible. And state forest hunting is hard enough as it is to add kids onto that. So nowhere near as much as I'd like, mate. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, that's interesting because I've taken, like, when I get back, so we jump topics like going back to hunting with the family, but like, because I hunt with Ivy. Ivy's keen. Ivy's becoming my partner. She's becoming more keen, like not more keen than me, but she's like asking when are we going to go next and stuff like that. So now it's become like a family thing.
Yep.
You know, but not every time, because it is important to go. Like, I think it's important to have your alone time as well. Go with a few of the boys and get out in the bush. You know.
Yeah, 100%. I joke around saying that because my wife is. She could definitely not be a hunter. We unfortunately,
she could be, or
no, definitely not. So she's all about. We actually complement each other very well because she's all about the gardening and growing our food organically.
Oh, that's nice. That's important as well. Yeah,
it definitely is. And then we raise our own chickens, and
nice.
I had to laugh because we had a flock of 9. And it's now a flock of 8. And unfortunately, one of the older birds had to go because she wasn't in a good state.
Okay.
And so I set up to, do the deed. And my poor wife was giving her hugs. And it took about 5 minutes for me to get the chicken to go through the process.
Yeah.
And she was so upset over it. And God bless her for that. But she's not a hunter. But it's not a bad thing either because...
Nah. Not everyone doesn't mean you have to hunt with your partner or whatever it is. Doesn't matter.
No, and look, I don't mind it because it does give me the chance to get away without the kids and, have that opportunity, go with mates, go on my own, get that time to myself. And, I mean, we pretty much do everything else together. So it's sort of like the only thing
it's very important. Yeah, especially with children and busy working, coming home and all that stuff. It's very important to have different interests as well, you know what I mean? Or doing different things on your own or whatever. But with the chooks, so are you in residential Sydney?
No, so I'm in Camden
Oh
outside.
yeah,
So
that never came to
we're
visit.
lucky. We're on a little bit of land here. So we're classified as semi-rural. So we're allowed to
Nice.
have chickens. So it's not too bad. We've got a nice big pen and have massive amounts of trouble with foxes, which is a problem because we're not
Yeah.
big enough to shoot on. And
Mm,
I'm not the greatest trapper in the world. I will put my hand up for that one, that's for sure. And my dogs, I've got two large dogs, but they just can't seem to figure out the foxes. The foxes are
yeah.
pretty smart. They
They
know
are
where to.
smart. They're cunning, eh?
They are very switched
I
on.
used to live at Rossmore and we had problems with foxes as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
just around the corner from where we are. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. It is. It's one of those things. It's very interesting. There's so many of them around suburbia, and
mm.
they have adapted so damn well.
They're smart. And all you need to do is make one mistake.
Yep.
And then they're off. Yeah, yeah. Every day they'll be checking. They're like, I reckon they do their rounds and they're just waiting for someone to make a mistake with the chooks, you know?
They are very good. I put out a heap of trail cameras to work
Mm,
out what was going on, and there was three of them, and they used the same route, which they knew was able to not the dogs wouldn't pick them up.
mm,
So it was interesting where they were moving because the dogs could not get to them, but even to the point where they learnt to come up through the neighbours and just jump the fence in certain areas, and the dogs would never
mm.
even know they were there. Like you got to give them credit.
Yeah, no, they're switched on. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But for me, they annoy me, eh? I hate them.
100%.
I've lost heaps of chickens over the years from foxes. They do my head in.
We've been lucky. I think we've lost one,
That's all
and
right.
it's not too bad. But like that, I've done a lot of work to the chook pen to make sure that they can't get in.
Mm. Yeah, you
But
have to, eh?
it is. It's one of those things. But
Mm.
look, it's nice to have that sort of balance and have that other side of it. So like the eggs are great. Like
That's the
eight
thing.
chickens now. Geez, you get a lot of eggs.
Oh,
And
it's good. Yeah, I reckon eight's a good. We got nine, but eight hens, and it's like I reckon 10 is good for a family because the amount of eggs that you, depending how much you eat. But if you eat like three or four eggs each in the morning, you want to be getting at least 6 to 8 eggs a day. You know what I mean?
mate, we with eight or even with the nine chickens, and my kids are only small, but man, there's never any
Eggs.
left
Yeah.
over.
Nah. There's not. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I reckon if I had a three, I've got one daughter. If I had three, I reckon I would. I mean, I'm in residential. We've got half an acre, but we're in like a residential. So I would max. If I was you, I'd get like 15.
Well, I hope my wife doesn't listen to this because
But I'm a
it
little
could
bit
very
mad.
well happen.
Yeah, because I'm a mad. Like I love chickens heaps. I'm a madman a bit with them, but I know that I have to stay. My partner always says you have to just like stay calm because you're in residential area. We can't have council coming to our front door and that. But I think 15 chickens is good because then you got at least a bit extra if you want to make a quiche or if you want to make omelette or you might give some to a neighbor or something and do a bit of bartering, you know. But whereas if you got like nine or like I've got eight, you're like every day, it's like day by day. You're not saving any, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we noticed that. That was one of the things, especially when they slow down.
Yeah.
And we had a period there with my 4-year-old, again, just so much energy. He was just chasing them everywhere. So they stopped
Mm.
laying as much.
Oh,
I
true,
think he
because
was
they get
stressing him
scared.
out.
Yeah.
So I had to rein him back in, but he absolutely loves it.
Yeah,
So it's so
kids love
hard.
it, eh? And they don't understand gentle. They just grab him and touch him and squeeze him. Yeah. But
It's pretty funny.
have you eaten any rooster before?
I have where probably my wife wants a rooster and
Mm.
I'm not wanting to get it because I think we're too close to all our neighbours.
Oh
And
yeah.
I don't want to be the hated person in the neighbourhood.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Because they crow at like 3 in the morning sometimes, 4 in the morning.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I said to her, I said, listen, I'm for it, but I think we need to move to a bigger property where we're not as close to our neighbours because
Mm.
I try and be mindful of everyone around us and that just,
Yeah.
I can see it being annoying.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. So it depends. You don't want to rub someone the wrong way.
Yeah.
But they're a good feed. I was going to say rooster. So because I always keep an eye on the internet. If anyone's giving away roosters or whatever, I'll grab them and kill them and eat them.
To process it yourself.
Yeah. So I won't keep them here at my house. I'll just keep just for one day, like that night, and then I might do it that night or the next morning or something, like before they start crying. But a lot of people give them away, because they don't want them for that same reason.
Yeah, well, actually, I think one of the boys at work, he said to me he's got 8 for us at the moment from his dad. So he just said
Perfect.
and I said, yep, ripper. And I said, how old are they? He said, I will grow them up for a bit. And I said, done deal.
Even better.
Done deal. I was like, I don't even have to
yeah.
pay for it. I said, I'll be getting them free. They're just, and I was like, happy days.
Yeah, they're really tasty. They go a long way in our freezer. We have we make curries and soups and everything with them.
Look, I'm very big on talking about this. Is that I think that people are really precious nowadays about our meat, and everyone wants the prime cuts and things like that. But the reality is, you've got so much edible, good protein on an animal, and I'm a big fan of the offal, like to the point where chicken hearts is one of my favorite dishes. I love getting chicken heart with some garlic, chili, a little bit of soy sauce.
Got a good texture, heart.
Oh, they're beautiful.
And giblets are good as well. Oh, not giblets. What are they called? The other ones, with the ones that you open up with the seeds inside.
Yeah,
gizzards. The gizzards.
Gizzards. That's it. Yep.
Yeah, the gizzards. Yeah, they're tasty, man.
I think it's how you prepare it. And I mean, that's something you obviously have a big passion for. And actually, I've got to ask you this because I was watching your Instagram and going, your method of aging fish. You want to explain to us how you go about that and tell the listeners?
Look, I don't know. I'm not like some crazy professional fish ager or something. It was like probably, I've only been aging fish now for about a year and a half, I reckon. Before that, but I've been fishing forever, right? Like, I don't know, since I was like 3 or 4 with my dad. And we never, the saying goes, fresh is best.
Yep.
Come home from fishing, fish on, go straight on the barbecue. Now, when I got and then I had just a normal fridge. I didn't have that display fridge. I had just a normal fridge. And one of my mates down, he's like, I was sort of a bit of a hype around it. And I was like, oh, nah, it can't be that good, Then one of my mates I met down here, he's like, oh, try it out, But what I liked about it at the beginning was, say, I used to catch like the fish that I was going to eat for the next day or 2 days because I never wanted to freeze fish. But this meant I could catch more fish in one session and then hang it and then eat them. And then just like by saying, oh, one day fish, next day fish, third day fish, then by the end, then I'm like, oh, so now it's 4 days in and I've got Aussie salmon that are 4 days old that smell like I just caught it. And I'm like, this is so strange because I thought that if you leave fish in the fridge for more than 2-3 days, they start to smell like pillies or something, because we've had that before, if you put them in. But what aging fish does, because it's dry, like I never, what it is? I never looked at fish like I look like looking at meat. But really they're both the exact same thing. Just one comes from the ocean, one comes from the land. So that's when I was like, this is like, I know that what aging meat, I know that when you age meat, what happens? It tenderizes, it's like better, like flavor. It's just like at the end of the day, you get a better product, right? And I'm like doing the same thing with fish. And it's just like, I didn't know the science behind it. It was just like, now I'm filleting my salmon and then taking the skin off and I'm getting this like perfect dry, fresh smelling fillet that's like gone hard. It goes in like it's gone into like rigor mortis, and what actually happens is the enzymes are breaking down the muscle fibers like meat, and I'm like, this is like, I was just like blew my mind, But I wouldn't do it to every fish. So I've got different. I'll age like Aussie salmon and, for example, slimy mackerel, bonito, longer than snapper. And people say as well, you got to adjust your humidity. But to be honest with you, like, as I said, I'm not like a professional or anything, but my fridge is set to 3 degrees. I haven't checked the humidity on it, but I've got 2 fans in there, and then I'll hang my fish for like probably. It depends on, as I said before, it depends on the fish, but say between 3 to 5 days. Yeah, and then the other thing as well, what it does is after a big day of fishing or whatever, you come home, wipe your fish down with paper towel or tea towel, hang it up, and you walk away. You know what I mean? You're not like, where am I going to put my fish? I've got no room in the freezer. Giving it away so you don't freeze it. It's just like, nah, everything goes in there. And then in the days of aging, maybe one afternoon, like, oh, I might go outside, fillet a few fish for dinner tomorrow, then put them back. Do you know what I mean? Gives you a bit of, so there's multiple positives from aging fish, I feel.
Well, mate, I'm a big fishing fan. I grew up, like my parents did a lot of fishing. We had a caravan down the south coast,
Oh, yeah,
just out
whereabouts?
past Ulladulla, just
Oh,
outside
yeah,
Ulladulla, Barrel
nice.
Lakes. And where we spent a good probably 3 months a year down there. And
Oh, that's
they are
mad, yeah.
keen fishermen. And I
I
got
used to
into,
always go down to Jervis Bay.
oh, nice. Yeah, great spot.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I did a lot of spear fishing and whatnot. And it's one of my favorite things to do. But then I love fish. There's nothing better. Like,
Nah,
I'm always torn because I love red meat, but fish is just next level. Fish and
no, it's
prawns for
nice. It's
me
like
are
a
one of my
treat.
favorites.
Yeah, it's
Hard to go
fresh. You
past
know
it.
what else? It's lean as well. It's like not lean. It's a not lean. It's you eat it and it's light.
Yes.
It's a light meal. You don't feel heavy. You don't feel tired. You're just like eating it. It's like you can just continue eating it. And there's no like heaviness or it doesn't slow you down.
I also like the way you've got so many things you can do with it or how simple you can make it too and how quick it is to cook
That's
because you
the
can
thing.
just,
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
do like absolutely love my wife does an amazing fish batter and
Oh,
so we
nice.
can deep fry it and make little fish cocktails or
Mm,
just salt, pepper, garlic with some
yeah.
lemon. Oh man,
Simple,
just
simple
unreal.
things.
Simple.
Yeah, I often cook them whole, but then say for example after a while, then I'll get over doing a whole, then I'll do fillets, and then
Yep.
you can bounce into you can do like yeah, you're right, you can do like crumbed or and it's just like you have with a bit of salad and some rice and you got to feed, which is cool. Yeah, goes a long way fish, I reckon.
I also feel compared to like a deer, your harvesting time is so much quicker.
Oh, fish, you're saying?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but you know what as well? You know what? That's so true. Since I've moved to the coast, I find myself fishing less and hunting more. I
Really?
don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know if I'm just like drawn to hunting more or, but you're right. I can go down to the beach, 20-minute, 5-minute drive and then bag out in within an hour on sunrise and then you got fish for 3 days.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like 10 minutes to clean them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is cool. It's a cool thing to be able to do that. We're very lucky, I feel, in Australia to be able to live live and catch fish like that. Because overseas, especially when I overseas in Europe and that, it's not as fish abundant as Australia.
Well, I think that's the beauty of our country, and especially depending on where you live. I mean, most of us live on the eastern seaboard, but you've got access to the ocean for fishing or some
Mm,
fantastic inland rivers and streams to chase trout and redfin and
mm,
all the sort of great stuff. And then you've got all the hunting that we have too. I think we're very, very blessed in this country,
yeah.
just with a plethora of different options.
And you know what, as well with hunting, is there's no seasons.
Yeah.
There's no season. You just hunt and whenever you want, day, night, thermal, not thermal, like all the animals we're hunting invasive species. Like a lot of people, like you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, America." Yeah, there's a big massive hype around hunting in America more than Australia with gun laws and all that stuff. But they've got, they can only shoot one elk a year, or they've got tags where they've got to draw out and all this stuff. Whereas we can be like, "Hey, man, you want to go hunting? Yeah, no worries. Now, yeah, let's go." Doesn't matter. You can shoot. Not that I'm saying it's good to shoot pregnant animals or whatever, but there's no rules or anything. It doesn't matter if the animal's pregnant or not, or it's like just like a free fall. And I'm not, and I feel like we know what with that. I thought because I went to Germany this year, I went to Europe this year, right? And I was with actually like a keen gun hunter, gunsmith over there, and I hunted with him. I lived like in his village for like a few weeks, so it was so interesting because like we hunted roebuck for like I don't know, it was like 7 or 8 mornings. I didn't end up getting one. We saw heaps, but we didn't get the opportunity to shoot the one that we wanted to shoot. But while I was with him, I realized that like a lot about why our hunting culture is the way it is, like because over there, because it's such a special thing, like you shoot a roebuck. I don't know if you know what a roebuck is, those little deer.
Yep.
It's like you get like the oak leaf and you rub the blood on off the deer, put it in your hat, and you like every hunter has a dry aging cabinet. It's like the meat is like treasured. I went to his freezer and I opened up his freezer and he had like all his meat vac sealed, labeled, dated, everything. The goose and the wild boar and the roebuck. And it's such a wild game is so special, like everyone. But then I think it's because there's seasons. You know what I mean? Because everyone's hyped up, waiting. They're waiting for the season to open to start hunting. Whereas us, it's like they're in the government saying it's a pest. They're bad. They're poisoned. They're this. They're that. And it's like everyone looks at rabbits like they're just a rabbit, and there's so many deer, whatever, and then I think we've lost the respect, for wild game.
No, I'd actually agree with you there because I sort of feel that because it's now more a free for all, because there is those lack of seasons and there is no bag limit, so to say, or tag limit, that when elsewhere, if you have one tag and you harvest that one animal, you've got to make it last. So you're going to take absolutely every piece of meat. And look,
Correct.
that is one of the things I try and do when I get successful is try and take as much off the animal as possible. But I can also understand that why people might not, and they might just rip out the back straps and then take the hind legs and go, that's enough. So it's I think you're right. Revering that meat is probably because a lesser opportunity or that shorter season. So you've got to make it last. And that's where that comes from, maybe.
I reckon as well. And you know what as well, now that I think about it, the countries that we're hunting in, you could access car and or like quad bike to every spot. If you're hunting high country Victoria, packing out a 7 kilometers, it's like heavy, very, very hard. You know what I mean? It's not like it's but different if you can get you know what it is for me. If you can get your car to the deer or a buggy or even like within 300 or 400 meters, you can pack it out. You know what I mean? It's when, fair enough, sometimes, if it's a long shot somewhere far away and you can't bring it back, there's only so much your body can handle with carrying it out. But like a lot of people will still cut the back legs off and just the back straps and the car's right next to it, right next to the animal. You know what I mean? And they'll leave the shoulders and the neck and the organs and everything like that, And I think that's when it's a bit like not showing the respect the animal deserves.
It's funny here that we really don't, well, in my opinion, I don't think we eat as much organs and offal as we could. It's almost
But
a
where I reckon
throwaway item.
Yeah, it is almost a throwaway. You're not wrong. But it's the highest nutrient dense. It's the nutrients are the highest in the organs, but then it's the first thing that we leave behind. But back in the day, that would probably been the first thing that we would have eaten. The liver, heart, kidneys. But what I reckon as well could be another reason why people don't harvest organs, because a lot of people are lacking the skill of gutting an animal. Because gutting can be overwhelming. If you've never gutted an animal and you've just started hunting, the first thing you're going to do is cut the legs off, cut the shoulders off, cut the back straps off, and leave it. You know what I mean? Because you don't get dirty. There's no blood. There's no chance of like puncturing the gut and all that stuff. So you just leave it. But then you're leaving heart, liver, kidneys, and eye fillets, and they're all some prime cuts of the animal. You know what I mean?
Oh, they are great. Like heart is one of my favorite.
Same with me. Yeah.
Oh, it's so delicious. And
good texture.
Yep. Yeah, it's really interesting why I see that a lot. I see people use the gutless method a lot and really just focus on the back straps and the rear legs and sometimes the shoulder. But if it's a big animal like a sambar or something like that, I notice that some of them just go, it's just too much. It's very interesting the way we do some things here. But how did you get into hunting? And like you do your own education courses and things like that. So where did that sort of come from?
Well, I got into I started hunting super young with my dad and uncles and that, just small game like rabbits, and we're shooting rabbits and ducks and quails, hares, a lot of hares, just with a shotgun. And then as we progressed, got older, then we got on properties that had goats, shoot a few goats, and then I think my dad and uncle bought a block down near the Snowies area. Then we started shooting, more goats, pigs, deer, and that. And then I don't know, then actually I had like a bit of a mentor, Grant. I run the courses with Grant, so he does the skinning, butchering, and I do the cooking side. So this is going back maybe like 6 or 7 years. We were hunting at his block since, I don't know. My dad knew Grant when he was like 7 or 8 years old, so they've been going back and forth for years there. But then I ended up becoming mates with him and started hunting with him. And then the stuff he taught me through like he showed me how to break down back leg and stuff like that. Then I thought, like, you know, when you've been doing something for so long and you think that you think that you know what you're doing, sort of thing. But then I realized that, like, when I that had that aha moment when he showed me how to break down the back leg, and I realized I could make schnitzels out of the back leg. Then I was like, whoa! I'm like, everyone has to, like, in my head. I was like, other people are in the same position as me. I'm like, I want to teach people this skill, you know. And then I made the decision to start eating only wild game meat, and through repetition over the years, like I was like, nah, that's it. We're gonna start courses, because the reason why I wanted to start the hunting education courses was I was seeing a lot of waste in the field, right? But what I've realized over the years of my hunting journey, growing up, I never saw my dad or uncles or grandfather waste anything. So it doesn't matter if it was an old billy or a rabbit or anything. I never saw anything get shot and left there. So I think with that, what's it called, as the foundation in my brain, then merging with, like, you know, seeing, for example, Grant showing me how to break down an animal perfectly like a butcher, and process and make schnitzels and make all these conventional cuts that I see only in like a butcher shop. Then that's when my brain sort of said, like, you know, I want to start teaching people these different, like you had to skin butcher, showing people like how to make like a cutlet and a T-bone steak. I mean, like, yeah, T-bone and cutlets and schnitzels. I know that, you know, when someone sees schnitzel being made out of the back leg, they're not going to leave that back leg next time they see the leg on the floor there. You know what I mean? Because if you tell someone, oh, why do you waste your meat? Oh, and they're going to be like, oh, yeah, because there's so much meat or whatever. But then when you feed them a schnitzel and they're like, oh, that comes from the back leg. Oh, no, I'm not going to leave the back leg anymore, because now I can make schnitzel. But everyone loves a schnitzel. I'm just using schnitzel as an example, but do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, 100%.
That's sort of why I started it. It was purely because I saw how much waste was being left on social media. I was seeing a few people's videos and that. I was seeing that so much people just take back straps, back legs, and leave the rest. And then I'm like, nah, people have to learn how to, you know, gut the animal, you know, how taste, learn, like, expose people, because we cook everything. We cook the brain, the heart, the kidneys on the course, the liver. So everyone's trying all the different meats, you know, and then yeah, I thought, you know, through exposure and education, people might connect different dots in their brain, and maybe, like, you know, they think twice before they leave the animal on the floor. Because another thing is, all these animals are alive, you know, we're taking its life. Just because the government talks about being a pest, it's still like a conscious living thing. Like, if you raise that animal by hand in the backyard, it'll be like a dog, you know. Just because it's running around and it's a pest and it's causing harm to the environment, it's still good to make use of it and respect it for what it is. You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree more, because I really feel that's the way to get people on side with hunting as well. I feel that we all eat, and most people enjoy eating food, especially when good food is cooked. And I think it's one of those things, if we get people who not so much might be anti-hunting, but if they're on the sort of fence or don't know much about it, if they're seeing the whole process, and it's something that I try and encourage other people to do, that when you do harvest an animal, that show the process, show what that animal has become and how that is going to not only feed the family, but become this delicious meal. And I think it's so important for us to be able to do that. And everyone eats, everyone loves their food.
That's the
And
thing.
it's some of the best quality food you can get out there.
Yeah, you're right. Because when people start linking food, like when they start to make the correlation with the taste of how wild game tastes, and then they see how, like, you know, why people hunt, then it's like, I feel like that's when sort of it's solidified that hunting is more than just like someone standing next to a deer in a photo, and, you know, we're just like trophy hunters or something. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I feel like there's so much hype around guns, accessories, optics, all these things that you need to hunt, and then a lot of people are like, you know, there's all these hunting shows and all that. Like, there's sort of like expos with all different camo gear, but then there's starting to become hype now about the actual food, but very little, you know. When I was in Germany, I went to a gun shop there. In the catalog, there was a catalog inside the hunting magazine that had in the hunting magazine there was a catalog with all commercial butcher equipment. There was like dry aging cabinets, butcher knives. There was sausage machines, the whole lot. Now, why are we selling? Because Carnival Collective, that's a good example for a brand that's coming out now. That's with the hunting in the hunting community. But this is only recent. This is probably I don't know, maybe a few years. But I feel like a hunter should also be like a butcher.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Because we're shooting the animal. After you shoot it, there's steps that has to happen to get it home. If you want to feed your family, that skill of being a butcher is like a necessary. So I don't know if we went a little bit off topic, but I was like, yeah, I think linking food with hunting is very important for us as a community of hunters to stay alive.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the easiest way to sell hunting to anybody is that game meat. I've finally got my hands on a product that I absolutely love, and it is super simple but also so versatile to use. This means that you can tailor how you want to have your coffee when out in the bush. If you want to support the podcast and get an awesome bit of gear that I know you will love, and how you can use the code AHB podcast to get 10% off. The link can be found in the show notes, socials, and on the website. Final press, you'll love it. How did you get into the cooking side of it? Because it's funny, I speak to a lot of people, and there's a lot of people nowadays that don't know how to cook. And cooking is one of my favorite things to do. And I absolutely love using my pellet smoker and flat top barbie and just doing a different technique and mucking around in the kitchen. Where did that come from for you, and how did you start? Did you have some sort of mentoring? Because you're a pretty damn good cook.
Well, so I'm not a chef by trade, by the way. It's just this is all self-taught. Yeah. So I think it was the hype around how I grew up, because I grew up with my when I was young, I didn't really go to daycare. Got looked after my grandparents while my parents went to work, and they're first straight off the boat from Cyprus, and my dad's also first generation from Cyprus. So between mum and dad and grandparents, grandparents had 5 acres at Rossmore, right? So they had chickens and rabbits and all this stuff and pigs so watching them grow tomatoes and cucumbers, everyone got excited for the first cucumber. I think I saw all that love for food from young, and then for example, it wasn't straight. My dad would get on a Sunday get really excited to cook a hare stew. He'd wake up in the morning and start preparing it he'd start preparing it from Saturday night, marinate it, and then the next day cook it. And I think watching that hype made me, I was always interested in cooking, but then as I got older, I was training a lot, and then I started to wanted to eat healthier food. So then I'm I had the farmer would shoot me some kangaroos, and I'd go pick up kangaroo meat and stuff like that. And then I don't know, I think I just started to meal prep and went down that wild game path. And I think when I made the decision to only eat wild meat, which was about 5 years ago, wild meat and fish, through repetition, you got to get creative. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I'm eating game meat and fish and veggies and whatever. But the only meat that I'm eating is game and fish. So through repetition, I'm exposed to different methods of cooking, and then you can't eat the same thing every day. You get bored of it, So that's why I think my brain started to. I think it felt like it was my way of my self-expression sort of thing. My creativity came through food. A bit like an artist painting on a wall or something, because every day I'm oh, how can I do this? Or how many different ways can I cook a rabbit? How many different ways can I cook venison shanks or whatever it is? So I think it was culturally, and then it sort of morphed into its own journey through me making the decision to only eat game meat and fish. Yeah.
I love the fact that you can just do that and pursue something and then just branch off into all these other elements of it.
Mm,
It's one of my favorite things to do, and I sort of reflect on it. And I grew up in a family that did not hunt at all, so
mm,
we were predominantly fishing and just south coast beach, and that's pretty much my whole life up until about 20, and
mm,
then started to transition into the hunting side of it and things like that. And a lot of the skills that I got out of there are similar or transferable. And
mm,
that has been pretty cool. And then I just, like I guess my thirst for learning and knowledge and going out there and trying new things and just constantly wanting to keep active, that has been a driving force. And I love that element too. So you sort of got the best of both worlds, and that's what your stuff is. Like you've got your fish and your meat and things like that.
I
So
think it's good to do a few different things as well.
we don't get bored.
You don't get bored, correct? Yeah, because it's a big thing. Like you can't just hunt every day because you get over it. Like, you want to be
100%.
you want to be living with the season. You're not going to go hunt in the middle of January. You might go for a spotlight to food freeze or something, but you're not going to go sit there hunt when it's like 35, 40 degrees in the bush. At that time, you're going to want to be fishing for sand whiting or or something. You got to adapt to the season. But what I was going to say before, based on how you were raised, when you were saying you're going to the south coast, that you were still exposed to nature,
Yes.
and you're watching your parents, probably grandparents. I'm not sure if you were into this to Aldala, but everyone was hyped. Everyone's there having a good time, and you're watching. If you're watching your mentors, your like parents get hyped about it, you're also going to get hyped about it. That's one thing goes back to being. It's important to be good role models for our children.
Yes.
Mm,
Well, exactly right. I look at it and I talk about my parents and seeing them fishing and whatnot. And then, my dad was a professional soccer player, and so that really flowed on into my life being very heavily involved in sports and
mm,
nature. So we would be hiking, and that's also just all sort of transition. So being in the
mm,
bush, hiking a lot, riding motorbikes, all that
mm.
then sort of has tied into the hunting side, and there's, as I said, those transferable learning skills, and it's
It is
so much fun.
transferable, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know what? The way the world's going a little bit, not strange, but there's just a big hype towards social media, technology, all that stuff. And you don't want your children to be sitting there gaming all day and inside. And
It's funny. So I don't know about your kids, but I see it with mine, and I was I was
I've
having a
only got
giggle.
one. I've got one daughter. She's only 17 months, so it's I
Ah, okay,
can't.
so little, yeah.
It's
So
little, yeah.
my twins are 2 and my eldest is 4, but I try and set a good example, and it's funny watching them do that because I work out in my gym at home most days, and my little ones are now watching, and I've got some pretty cool videos of my 4-year-old, doing triceps and with the
That's
ropes and
mad.
things like that. And then I've got my 2-year-old twin who gets up on the seat or the bench and he'll be lifting weights, or I have to stand there with the dumbbells and do a little chest press with him. And they are just little
They're like
sponges.
little
Oh,
sponges. Yeah, it's
badly. And
crazy.
it's amazing
It's you know
how
what? It's like it's a bit not scary, but you really got to be like mindful. Like,
they absorb and watch everything. And it's
mm,
funny because I look at it and my twins are a little bit different to my 4-year-old. He watches a little bit more TV. And that's because that was survival mode when we had the twins. So because we were looking after them and there was a lot of, they were in newborn intensive care unit for a month. And then there was they
yeah,
had
that's intense.
reflux,
Yeah.
and it was tough. And
Mm,
they were different sizes that my wife breastfed the whole time. So they were up all night. It was very little sleep. So my poor son got a bit neglected there, where we're dealing with the kids, just watch some TV. And so he's a little bit more addicted to the TV, not
mm,
massively. He'd probably still only get like 30 minutes to an hour a day max.
mm,
But my twins, they'll watch cartoons, and their attention span for that's maybe 40 seconds, and then they're out. And
mm,
they want to be outside riding bikes, playing just in the, with water, up at the gym. Very, very different. And
mm.
we've noticed how big an influence we are to them. And that's one thing that we're trying to be really mindful. Then that sort of ties in because I really want them out hunting with me. But it's a really tricky one because they are very loud and they're very young still. And I know
You
people
know
do
what
it
you
and they
should do? You
say,
should do like you do much camping?
yes, 100%.
Well, you'll be right, man. Camping.
Oh,
It's the same thing, yeah. Like
Yeah,
you don't have to have a gun in there or
no,
whatever.
they're fine. They're going to be very outdoorsy kids. Like they've been asking me to go fishing, and
Yeah,
they love the outdoors. So
that's mad. Yeah.
we've got a nice we've got a nice trip coming up very shortly for a couple of weeks camping with them. So I'm really looking
Nice.
forward to
Yeah,
that.
a
They
couple of
are
weeks is good. That's what we want to start doing as well now. Yeah, because I feel like one night, 2 nights, it's all right. But if you go for a week and a half, 2 weeks, you're a bit more really in it. Like you're really in the camping feeling.
Yeah, the trickiest one's because I got the three. The trickiest one is how they all sleep. So we had a
Mm,
rooftop tent, and we tried that out, and that's not great with a little kid in the
mm,
sense that it got pretty hot up there. They didn't like it up there. Then when you're going in and out too, we are going to sleep with one of them, and the other was I was in the swag, bit
mm.
too small. So we've ended up getting a bigger tent. I ended up getting the big Black Wolf Turbo dual room. So I'm going to try that one out with them. So I think that's
That
going to
might be
make a
better.
big
So a bit like a
difference.
house.
Yeah, just more. I find my kids are really good for a bedtime routine, and they go down and they're pretty good sleepers now once you get them to sleep. So the problem with that is because we were so small and then there's interruptions, whereas usually they're in their room, you're not sort of crawling around them and things like that.
True.
So I'm thinking we did a trip to Queensland with the family for my parents, and we stayed there, and the twins stayed in the same room, and we've never had them in the same room so they don't keep each other up. But it worked okay. Now they're a bit older, so I'm really. I think I think we've
You've got
nailed
it
the
down
setup.
pat. Yeah,
I
you
think
guys
so.
it's trial and error. Eh?
Well, that's it, and you've got to give it a go. And
No, you got yeah.
it's
Because
not
a lot
going to
of
be easy.
parents
They're
won't even give
kids,
it a go because it's too hard. They'll say, "Oh no, it's too hard. We don't get camping." But then the kids missing out on
correct?
exposure to. Because I was gonna say as well, camping builds resilience because the weather's not always good.
Mm.
Could be pouring rain, cold, might be mosquitoes or whatever it is, and it's a bit uncomfortable, But it makes them a little bit more like I don't know, like resilient to like nature, the forces of nature or something, because life's not going to be eh, straightforward and easy your whole life.
I think that's important too. I think exactly what you're saying is that the more you expose your kids to these different elements, they're going to find something they love in the bush. Like I've
Mm,
always been an advocate for that, for saying I'd love my kids to hunt, but you know what? If they don't, for whatever reason, that doesn't really bother me too much, as long as they find a passion in nature and there's that connection
mm.
there.
You know what?
Because
You're not wrong.
it's great for your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual
Mm,
health. There's so many positives to it. And
mm.
you can't get that out of the TV screen. You can't
No,
get
no,
that
you're
out
not
of the
wrong.
games.
You're not wrong. As long as you build that good relationship with nature, it's good. You're right. Because, yeah, as they get older, there's more temptations and, yeah, you don't want them to be watching TV and just it's even good because there's going to be a point where our kids are going to want to go out and party and all that stuff. But you want them when they phase out of that to have another thing that they
Yeah.
enjoy doing. You don't want them to be just stuck in that scene because they don't have any other hobbies or stuff like that.
No, exactly right. And I think that's one that you've got to have. You've got to have. In my opinion, you've got to have your foot in both sort of worlds.
I agree.
You can't not expose your kids to technology because they need those skills in the
Mm,
future. But also, nature is a dying skill, and that's one of the things I really like what you're putting out there, because it is something people nowadays are not exposed to. And
no.
whether it be harvesting your roosters or your fish, most people now just go to the supermarket and they've got
Mm,
a variety of choices. Everything's done for them. It's almost that set and forget sort of
it is,
mentality.
yeah. Because you know
And
why? We in such a fast paced lifestyle,
yes,
especially Sydney, everyone's flat out and everyone's working two jobs and I mean both most people, both parents are working to afford this and blah blah and who's got time to go and kill a rooster in the backyard
yes,
or like live off the land? Because to be honest, even with me living off the land, I'm taking days off work. Like I work as a sparky, work for myself. But the days that I'm hunting, I'll be like, I might take a day off, or that means I'm not getting paid that day, But I'm gonna go and hunt, and I fill the freezer. So it's just like juggling all of that. Like to be honest with you, it is tricky. Like, and I'm not in Sydney, I'm out of Sydney. But if I was in Sydney, I reckon it's not feel like it's yeah, it is tricky to do it all, because and that's why people sit there just going, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna get chicken breast or whatever because it's just convenient. And the way the system has the like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything, but the way the system is constructed is for us to be like consumers. They don't want us to free and go and live off the land and stuff like that because they're making money on us. So then that's why everyone's going to take that easy option and just, you know, not everyone, but a lot of people will just take that easy option. I think that's why the industry's continuing, you know. But yeah, it's all, and you know what as well, I feel like over the years, like as we've progressed as a society, I feel like we've forgotten how we've evolved to this point, you know, because if me and you didn't come back with a deer in our village, we could have start like not deer, but if we didn't come back with food, there's a chance of starvation. But now that's not. We don't have to. Like now, everything's like there's you don't see blood. Like there's no blood. People don't link the food that they're eating with death. When there's death everywhere, even in the cheap aisles, there's death. You know, like it doesn't matter if you go. They say, but we've forgotten. Like we've forgotten. I think we've just forgotten it where we came from as a species. To be honest.
I agree with you. Obviously, we're in a capitalist sort of society, and that that reliance on everything, it makes sense. And then you're right, being in these major cities like Sydney, it's really easy to go that fast food route, or you know, you don't even have to go to the supermarket. You don't even have to get out of your car nowadays, and you've got your food. So that is something. And I do believe this population's skill level in being able to live off the land or produce their own food has significantly diminished. And it is now harder to do that than thing. And that also is because people are working long hours. People have we're in a cost of living crisis at the moment. I know that are doing 2-3 jobs just to keep, to make ends meet and make sure that they can still afford their house. So it's a really tricky one to find that balance. And I love seeing when someone is able to pull that off like yourself. And there's a different payoff to it. I get that you might have to take the day off work, but if you can harvest an animal, there's a lot of financial incentives to using that meat then. So it's the trade-off.
Yeah, you're right. That's a trade-off because it's not only financial. It's also, I feel like, mental health, spiritual health. Everyone's getting involved. It's like now that I've got my daughter as well, I'm watching her like enjoy it, and that gives me even more incentive to go. But to be honest with you, moving out of Sydney has allowed me to do that because everything's much cheaper. Like, say if my mortgage was higher, like I don't know if I would be able to do what I'm doing because taking a day off work it's not even that day because after how it is with hunting, you come home, then you might hang your meat, and then after a few days after that, you're going to be processing it till 10:30 at night, and then go. You say it requires energy, but for me, I feel like it's very necessary. Like I feel like it's just as important as making money, or paying the mortgage. So it just depends what you prioritize. No, it doesn't depend what you prioritize. It just depends there's just no judgment. Some people are in a financial situation where they can hunt and live off the land and have that time, and some people aren't. Like it just depends, what drives, what cards you've drawn for yourself, sort of thing.
Oh, I completely get what you're saying. You've got to make choices, and the best choices you can make for yourself. And that's cool. Everyone, that's part of life. You've got to be able to say, hey, that's the best for me and my family, and that's what I'm going to do. So everyone has their own different struggles, and everyone has their own skill sets to be successful in whatever they choose to do. So I get what you're saying there.
Well, just quickly, sorry, I just had a thought, right? But at the same time, right, there's still, even if you're a hunter or non-hunter, sorry, or non-fisherman, there are still options in the supermarket that are ethical, For example, like if you can go into a supermarket into the meat section, often they're selling kangaroo meat. There's nothing wrong with it. That's like, no kangaroo is farmed. It's all being shot by commercial hunters at night in the head, healthy as, like lean red meat full of iron, B12 and all that. So and it's not that expensive. Sometimes like 14, 15 bucks a kilo, for mince. Or you can get you don't have to be eating venison. You can get like grass-fed beef mince. Yes, it's still getting harvested in an abattoir, and that's like the animal is experiencing a little bit of trauma and stuff like that. Not a little bit, it's experiencing trauma going to the factory and stuff like that. But it's still a healthy option, and it's also not that expensive beef mince. So just because life is expensive, that convenient option is generally the easy option, but it's not necessarily the healthy option. But then there is also healthy, easy options as well. If you know what I mean, doesn't have to be just because you're busy. You don't have to go and eat something unhealthy. I feel like it's also a lifestyle choice.
Most definitely. I think that it's one that if people haven't got the skill level of cooking, and that's becoming more prevalent with people nowadays. I know in a lot of my friendship groups, it's a lot of them will Uber Eats before actually cooking.
You know what? You're right. I have this chat with my partner. The lack of skill of cooking in the future will affect what you eat.
100%. I was having a chat with a mate and we were talking about we make our own homemade pizzas and
Nice, yeah.
we will constantly like the toppings, everything. We'll have just a plethora of seafood on them and we'll then have, meat lovers and we'll have just compared to what you get from if you order pizza, they're not even comparable. And we were having a conversation with their mate about this and she was saying, oh, it's far more expensive to do it that way. And we did all the calculations and when we bought it compared to it and we're like, no, it's really not. But it comes down to more people are worried about paying that and not being able to do it, or it takes a little bit longer, or it doesn't turn out perfect. And that's one, like some things are harder to cook than others, but there's always seems to be a way, right? Like I look at it and go, for me, cooking lobster, some people can overcook lobster pretty easily and whatnot. We do it in a Mornay dish. Always turns out fantastic. It's like venison. I smoke venison in the pellet griller and I did a shoulder the other week. It was unbelievable.
I've said, I've never done it before in a smoke. I've never smoked it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. So look, the trick is you've got to keep the moisture up to it. You've got to baste it or you've got to cover it and have it sort of almost braising. But
was it like a fallow? Was it a fallow shoulder?
Yeah, it was a fallow shoulder.
Fat or no fat?
No fat.
And did you sit it? Oh, yeah, explain to me actually. Yes,
I'll send some photos to you because so what it was is just I literally threw it into aluminium tray, smoked it for 2 hours, turned the heat up, but I put in a really basically half apple juice, half water in the bottom, and it just had that in there. And then I covered it up after I think it was about 2.5 hours, chucked aluminium foil over the top, so it just sealed it in there, kept it on 120 and just smoked it throughout the day. And it just turned out unbelievably good.
Apart? Did it fall apart?
Oh yeah. It was like pulled venison because we had family members coming over who love venison and I was just like, I'm going to do this for them. And it's funny because my brother-in-law does not eat game meat, refuses because it's so gamey. And he tried a bit and I could see in his face was like, wow, that's like, it's taken me years for him to try some.
Wow.
And I think he did it because everyone at the table was raving about how good it was. So it sort of perked his curiosity.
So you've converted him.
It was amazing. It was that good. Unfortunately, my wife's family took it all home, all the leftovers, because my wife's saying, "Oh, he can do this anytime. You guys can't. You can take it." I was like, "What the hell?" But the other way I've done it is plenty of just basting it, making sure like every 10 minutes, just get back out and baste it to make sure it doesn't dry out. And I think that's where if it dries out, you're in big trouble. But
yeah, of course, I can imagine. That's why, to be honest, I'm a bit like cautious. I don't have a pellet smoker though. That's another thing. I've got just like but I haven't, because I've got the smoker that you got to feed it with timber. I haven't got the time to sit there and feed all day. So I don't really smoke fish. I smoke fish sometimes, but I haven't really smoked much meat. But that sounds good, eh? I've got another mate, Baz. He does that as well.
Oh, it's
he
delicious.
smokes his jerky, and he's got a few kids, and he said he'll put 2 fallow shoulders and does that. What you said, smokes and makes like put like burgers and all different things, and he said it's mad.
Yeah. Look, it comes down to your skill. And look, the other thing's trying. I think for me is trying different methods out. Like you're down, I'm guessing down south, and I see you getting Australian salmon, and people don't rave about Australian salmon. I think they're underrated massively. I love eating them, especially smoked.
Same.
They are unbelievable when you smoke them. How do you smoke them?
I just make like a brine, like with soy sauce and Worcestershire sauce and bit of salt and sugar, and then put them in that overnight, and then I just pat them dry and then put them in. But I don't even smoke them in a proper smoker. Like I'll just smoke them in like I do lambs on the spit, and then because so it's just like a big spit that you open up with the lid. I just put trays in between like bricks on one side, and then just lit a fire on the left, and then just closed it, and then smoke them like that. Yeah. So it's just like put like a hardwood, a few bits of hardwood charcoal, and then just kept on feeding it, and then just smoked them like that.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was,
Okay.
yeah. I put sometimes I put wood chips, and then I'll put like my neighbor will give me some like sawdust from some different like hardwood timbers that he used to smoke his trout, and I just sprinkle that on top, and it's pretty much it really.
Yeah, nice. I am
What about you?
struggling. Well, I've got the pellet grill, and that's how I tend to do everything now. It's just
Mm,
brilliant. But I did buy. I used to just do a spit roast all the time as one of my favorite things to do, and I am now. The old spit roast just blew out, so I haven't bought a new one. Instead, I went to the Weber, and just I've got the spit attachment. I'm still struggling to just get the charcoal right in the Weber. It just doesn't
mm,
seem as easy as how I used to run it in the spit roast. I'm
mm,
still trying to play and get that right. Because of the oxygen flow. So
mm.
it's got
What
me a little
charcoal are you
bit.
using?
Look, whatever I can get, just the beads generally, like the heat beads.
So I
Um,
reckon don't
lump,
get the lump charcoal from Bunnings.
yeah,
There's a black that big black bag. I think it's like I
yeah.
don't
The
know.
hot shots one is it?
No, it's a Heat Beats brand, but
Okay.
it's black. Yeah, it's hardwood charcoal, and they're like nice and heavy and big pieces. I would use that.
Okay,
Yeah,
because one of the things I've found, it just not doesn't seem to catch and keep a light as well as the
yeah,
spit. And I'm thinking, I don't know whether it's the lack of oxygen because the sides are a bit higher, especially with the spit roast attachment.
yeah. You know what else is all you can do? Sorry to interrupt, but you know where your charcoal is sitting. So get like a mesh, like a thick like mesh, and then have that raised, maybe like I don't know 20 mil or 30 mil, and then you sit your charcoal lighter on that, so then there's airflow underneath.
Underneath, yep.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So it doesn't have to
Yeah,
be. It can be just rusted out mesh, just whatever. Like
yeah,
you
it
know how
doesn't
you got
matter.
mesh. Yeah, yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, and that helps the airflow because it sits off the ground. Because then you can get air underneath. It'll go around. Just try that out as well, I reckon.
Yeah, I might because I've got the brand I've got. I think it's a Matador, not a Weber. To be honest, it's just one of the kettles anyway, and it's got the airflow underneath and the charcoal remover for all the debris. So I don't. I think maybe it's just I've got to play around. I've got to spend a bit more time with it. Look, I'll be honest. I did it a couple of times and just went, it's not paying off. And the pellet grill, I've just got it so down pat now,
If
and
you
it's
go
so
down, yeah, it's
easy.
hard to go start something new because you just want to be efficient, get it done, tasty. That's it.
Exactly. So I think that I'm going to definitely get more into it, especially with the school holidays coming up over summer. I'll spend a bit more time on it when I've got a bit more time to play around because that's the other thing. It is a process. And as you said, when
Yeah,
you're tending the fire and you're making sure everything's happening, whereas the pellet grill is just forget, set your temperature. I
yeah,
throw in my wireless probes. I know what's going on there.
and that's it.
It just makes life easy and
That's the
goes pretty
thing.
quick.
Even me now, I'm finally using, for example, slow cooker flat out because I'm just
Oh,
like,
how good is it?
yeah, you set it up night before, turn it on, wake up morning, dinner's done.
Yeah.
Instead of like you're sitting there turning, make sure something doesn't stick and all this stuff. We come back down to we are like as much as we want to like live off the land and flat out and that we are still busy people. You still have stuff to do with kids and all. They can't sit there. Oh, no, I'm tending to the
Fire all
smoke all
day.
day when your kids
Yep.
are like, Dad, come or something. Like so. Slow cooker is a must, I reckon, and or pressure cooker. But I haven't had much experience with pressure cookers. My grandma that used to use it a lot, but slow cooker for sure. You need it.
Is the best. I have not done much with a pressure cooker. We're the same. I've seen some pretty decent explosions on social media and whatnot.
Mm,
And my wife has always been, I don't know. And
mm.
with the slow cooker, it's so easy because, as you just said, set it up in the morning, let it run all day, and it's ready by night. Come home, happy days, and there's not much that can go wrong with it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There's a few things that I feel like you like. Even like, do you what type of game do you like? What do you find yourself eating the most of when you come home from a hunt? Like, what are you always drawn to? Would you say?
Mate, look, I'd chase whatever's in the state forest, but I'm not a big fan of like eating pig. Like, it's not something that I would eat. So, I am if it's farm raised, just
Yeah,
with a lot of the
is that
nasties
called
that can be in them.
brucellosis in that?
Yeah, yeah,
Do you
yeah.
know much about it?
Look, I've had a couple of chats with some vets and things like that,
Oh, you
and
have?
yeah, and a few other people that are very experienced in that side of it. And
Have you had him on the podcast?
yes, yeah. So I had a good one with Lawson White
Nice.
talking about it, and his background's a butcher and things like that. And he steers clear from pig unless he's shooting it on a farm with a crop and he knows basically what it's doing. There are certain areas he definitely won't. But there's been multiple different peoples with multiple different things. Look,
It's a grey area, isn't it?
it is. And that's the thing, right? When I was younger, as you get older and you have family and that, I guess your opinions change and the risks you're willing to take are a little bit
You're not
different.
wrong. Yeah, that's so true.
So for me, I definitely am not. So I'm more about chasing for food, rabbits, goats, and deer are what I'm sort of focused on. And then if I'm, hopefully one day I'll get access on a private property with some tags and be able to knockaroo, because kangaroo is one of my favourite meats to eat too. So mate, just give us some tips, because I know you're saying you're not a chef, but geez, some of your stuff comes up real good. What's some simple tips for people out there that, for both fish and game that you would recommend, especially if they're starting out?
All right, I reckon. So, I'm just trying to think. I reckon a big one is to keep your meat dry. So, like, say for example, it's so. Let me get back. So, what you do after you shoot that animal will, or kill that fish, or catch that fish, will depend how good that meat or fish tastes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, for example, like bleeding it, like gut the way when you gut it, like no piecing of the guts, and then getting it on ice, letting it go to like rigor mortis, and then aging it, and then breaking it down. Both fish and meat. So same. Like with fish, obviously it's going to be sitting on ice. It'll be a little bit wet at the beginning, obviously, but like for example, with your deer or your rabbit, don't sit it in like ice water and let it, because the water makes the meat go grey and it can cause bacteria. And then it's like cooking a wet steak. It becomes like you're boiling it, like you know what I mean. It's just like sort of becomes grey in the pan. So like those taking steps after you kill that animal, I could talk about this for days about the steps that you take, but you know what I mean. So it's just like keeping that meat dry, getting it on ice as soon as you can, letting it go into rigor, hang your meat, age your meat, however you age. You can wet age it or dry age it, either in vacuum bags or, in a fridge. But you can age your meat in any fridge. I just want to make that clear. A lot of people ask me, you don't need a display fridge. And I got that because it's a bit excessive, but just needed room for everything. But you can age your meat in any fridge. You can even put it in the drawers. Like vac seal it in. Have you spoken about aging meat much on the
A
podcast?
little bit, yeah. I was just thinking when you were talking about the how you do it, because I am of the opinion that I would never put it in a slurry of ice and water,
Mm,
because yeah, as you said, it goes grey. For me, they tell you not to drink the damn ice or put it in your drinks, so because of bacteria
mm,
exposing that, I just don't think it's a good way to go. So I
nah.
definitely don't do that. So
But
we've
some
spoken
people
about
do it
that.
by accident, but like it's not intentional. You know what I mean? They go past the gear. They go past the petrol station.
Yep,
They'll get a few bags of ice, put it in there, and then say for example they shoot the animal on the second day. They throw the meat in the esky.
yep,
At the bottom of the esky might have that much water ice. If they haven't drained it,
yep,
then all of a sudden your meat's sitting in ice just by chance. So you can do a few things, like you can like rig something up and create like a layer between because I like using ice bottles,
yep. I'm the
not
same.
ice. You're the same, yeah. So ice bottles are a big thing. Like you just throw 15, 20 ice bottles in esky. I'll keep one esky with ice bottles, the other esky empty, and then I'll just use like one esky, and then transfer ice bottles to the esky with the meat. You
Yep.
know what I mean? So yeah, ice bottles is a hot tip, So then people sometimes don't intentionally sit in ice though, but you got to like it's a bit tricky because you're like, oh, if you only got ice bags and then they're sort of defrosting and it's hot, you're not going to leave the meat out. You're going to leave it in there. So it's got to be a bit preparation. That's what it'll be. It's being prepared for a harvest. So going out hunting and having those eskies full of ice bottles ready for when you do shoot a deer or whatever you shoot to get it cold quick. So that's one hot one. Not yeah, that's one hot tip. Steps taken after the animal's shot, or shot or caught, whatever it is, fish. Oh, cooking steaks, venison, like make sure it's medium rare. You know, it's a very simple tip, but a lot of people can overcook game meat.
Yep.
And then, they have people over, then they overcook game meat, then someone's going, oh, venison's tough. But it's not really, it's because it's been overcooked. And then they get, how the rumor spreads.
Yes.
Also knowing what, like, for example, you wouldn't cut a backstrap off a stinky billy and make it and cook it into steaks because, I mean, you make it into like like a backstrap of billy goat because it'll have a stronger flavor. So
Yep.
knowing like how to cook different animals, like a ruddy buck or a stinky billy. Stinky billy, I would make, for example, use it for curries. I would label all those Vaxel bags as curry meat. And then a ruddy buck, I would mince it with pork fat or beef fat and have it for bolognese, stuff like that. So, like, that I think makes a big difference because otherwise people are going to sit there and be like, oh, I shot my ruddy buck. Yeah, when I cooked the backstrap, it was tough and yuck and blah, blah. But then, like, if you mince him and put pork fat, it's bulletproof, you know? It might have a little bit of a stronger flavor, but when you're making bolognese and different things like with, you can make Mexican tacos and Sancho Bao, you don't taste it. It's just like any other beef, any other like red meat minced up. Knowing how to cook different animals based on age and gender, you know?
Yep. No, it all makes sense. And I think if you're not sure, there's so many great resources out there as well. So you can jump on and find something to help you out because it's one that people sometimes get very, I guess, overwhelmed
It's
when they're,
overwhelming. It is,
when
yeah.
they're doing it. So especially starting out. And one of the things is when you start butchering things like that, you're not going to be great at it. Don't expect it to come out looking like steaks at a shop.
Nah,
That's
no, you're not
something that
wrong.
people have to think about too. And it is a bit of a mindset, that shift of your mindset to
It is.
understand that it's not going to look like that, especially if then you haven't got the equipment for processing properly as well. And you're
That's the
only
other
just
thing as
doing,
well.
if you're doing it out in the field and the like. So, mate, fantastic. I love what you're doing out
Just
there and I love
sorry,
your
one more
Insta.
thing. I'll add one more thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry about that, but I'm just because you were saying this is for the new hunters that are just starting as well. You're saying that, eh? So another thing. So remember, the only thing that we want to age is your steak cuts. So neck meat, shoulder meat, ribs, all of that can go into the slow cooker the day after you shoot it, and it will fall apart, guaranteed. It needs just to be on long enough. So all you want to be just to remember, like the muscle pieces, backstrap, the meat on the legs. I would just age the whole leg if you can. If not, like top side, silver side, age it. Around you can age it, but the shanks you can straighten the slow cooker, they'll fall apart. So if you think about the animal like a bit of like a puzzle, you've got the neck, slow cooking, shoulders, because it's those bones, tight muscle, slow cooking, backstrap, steaks or schnitzels. You're not gonna do not slow cook a backstrap because that'll become dry and hard, be like not like leather but cardboard almost. Like if you're pulling it, it'd be tough. Or the rib meat, do not, because the thing is, another thing, people get caught out with rib meat and they're like, oh, rib meat's tough because they treat it like a meat, like venison ribs, like, beef ribs is full of fat. There's no fat on venison. There is sometimes if you shoot a ruddy buck. I mean, sorry, a pre-rut buck, but most of the time there's no fat. So slow cook it. So now all of a sudden it's just literally back straps, top side, silver side, and the round, which are all cut from the back leg, pretty much, and except for the back strap, that you really need to be aging, and then it's sort of not less overwhelming. It doesn't matter if you hack at the shoulder a bit, or you're missing a little bit of the neck, because at the end of the day, you throw everything in the slow cooker, and it's gonna fall apart regardless. So just don't overthink it too much. It's just a bit like a puzzle. Yeah. So get back into
No,
it.
100%. And it's a learning curve. Like, especially, and if you haven't got, I think you mentioned a bit earlier, if you haven't got those, you've got a display fridge. It's actually a damn good setup. It looks amazing. But if you haven't got that, just wet age it. And wet aging is just the process of put your cuts, throw them in, vac seal them, and let them just age in the fridge. So they're nice and small, easy to do.
Just make sure the bag is sealed.
100%.
Make sure it hasn't lost any air, because then that's when it can be spoiled. It needs to be like a properly sealed. If it's like, sometimes the vac seal bags don't fully properly seal and let air in. you can't age it like that. But if it's all sealed, yeah, wet aging is perfect. Yeah, you don't need a big hectic setup. You can get a fridge off Marketplace for $100.
Yeah, 100%.
And you gut it. Like I did it, I used to do it before. You empty the whole fridge and then you put like racks in there and just fill it up. Same goes for fish. Same fridge. Yeah.
Mate, 100%. Do you want to tell people where they can find you? You do some great hunting and cooking education courses here in Sydney, or in New South Wales, I should say, pretty close to Sydney. Where can people find all your details?
So if you go on Instagram and type in the Bold Chef AU, and then I've also got Facebook page, the Bold Chef AU, and then click on that and you'll see I've got a link on there for my website, which is theboldchefau.com, and there's actually upcoming dates for the courses in the next week for next year. It's limited spots. It's going to be down in Batemans Bay. So keep your eyes peeled. And for anyone that wants to get first sort of release dates, just join onto my mailing list on my website. But all the details are going to be coming up on my Instagram in the next few days. So, yeah.
Oh, mate, fantastic. Batemans Bay, not only go down and learn, it is an absolutely beautiful part of the world. And, mate, appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thanks for joining us. And
no worries. Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Bye for now. You've been listening to the Australian Hunting and Beyond podcast with Matt. Thanks for tuning in and can't wait to catch you next time. But in the meantime, if you want more, you can find it at linktr.ee/Australian Hunting and Beyonds. That will give you our YouTube, Instagram, X, Facebook, you name it. We'll catch you next time.